testing from the EUAG, Chui and Lee. Hopefully our audio will be better now.
Hi Jim, can you hear me? Can you hear me stably?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Um, I will going to share my screen.
Okay, we can see your
We
screen.
can see it.
Okay, thank you. Hi, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I'm Chui from China Mobile. I'm new for the EUAG team, but I'm very happy to meet all the EUAG participants here. Today, this session is going to discuss the testing requirements and for the working trend for next stage. So here I have two parts, and that is some question here. I wanted to hear all the people here about what you're thinking towards to these questions. So so currently in the LFN we already have the process and the platforms for supporting the automatic testing. We have the white paper. So for the next step, I'm thinking two aspects. The first one is we want to see what may be the next step for the NFV automatic testing based on what we have already achieved. And part two, we want to talk about how to do testing under the network intelligence scenario and collect some potential requirements. And I plan to use 10 minutes for part one and 20 minutes for part two. So for the part two, first I want to introduce the current works in SDOs, mainly 3GPP and ETSI. ETSI now is working on the definition of a common test case description and the requirements of automatic cross-organization joint pipeline. Test case description is going to discuss what are the necessary input, deployment, and execution information before execute the testing. Joint pipeline is at the use case discussion stage. And for the 3GPP work, 3GPP has a new work item about NFCSAD in SA5 this year. Now it's also at the use case collection stage. We have two cases now. One is the notification mechanism of a new NF version delivery from the NF supplier. Another is the dynamic software update and live testing for supporting test the upgrade network nodes or functions in the live 5G network. So here I want to see if there have any interesting use cases for supporting the NF's testing. What may be the new features or requirements considering the 5G background that the LFN experts see. And we welcome everyone to join and contribute the ETSI and the 3G PP works if you are interested. I think I just stop here now to collect any ideas about the first question.
So could you share, I think maybe it might make sense to share a little bit about the background on this and how you know, what's been done so far, and then we can talk about sort of what's the next steps.
Yeah, maybe this is better. because today we just have 30 minutes, so I just give a very, briefly introduction about that. Maybe I'm thinking maybe I can maybe share more the proposals about the current standards works maybe to the wiki minutes wiki page, and if we'd like to, I can sometimes expand them for details and see what we can do for further.
Yeah,
Maybe
let me give the participants just a quick background here, to like 2 minutes, right? So then we can go into the next step. So this NFV testing and automation next steps is based on the white paper that the EUAG published. It's actually 2 white papers that Li Hong mentioned earlier in one of the earlier sessions. And in those white papers, we did a survey of what was being done to create testing frameworks for NFV workload, the type workloads. And what we found in a nutshell was the testing frameworks there's very little standardization, and there's no full testing suite out there today. So the ones that are furthest along are the ETSI. I'm not as familiar with the 3GPP PP. I think you can speak about that, Yi-Hung. And so what the purpose of this session is to gather requirements for testing, what additional requirements do we need for these testing? What testing frameworks would you be interested in adding? Specifically, I know 5G, there's very little out there. Again, these are standard testing suites, not necessarily proprietary testing suites. So anyhow, hopefully that will help spark some more conversation.
Thanks, Space, for the white paper. Yeah, actually, I think currently in no matter LFN or other SDOs, for the considering the 5G background testing is at the very beginning stage. So for the 3GPP part, it is just to start to collect the use cases. So actually today, I also wanted to use the EUAG platform to see how other operators or vendors, to see maybe for the future perspective, there may, what are they interested use cases? So that is the motion for the first part. If today we didn't have more idea at present, I will directly go to the part 2 for the network intelligence.
So there was a question, and the answer is yes. So the question is does the EUAD accept vendor input for its work? And the answer is yes.
Okay. So for the part 2, this is for the network intelligence testing and certification requirements. Here, I think this topic is more open, and the initial for this topic is I will take an example that with the AI or machine learning applications that people now can use the data training to construct the model and expect to leverage the model to predict and recommend it. So in this situation, the AI testing, the testing with this AI environment may want to verify the accuracy of the trained model and also expect various data input. Maybe one typical scenario for the AI technique used to network is to do the traffic forecast. Since we already have the automatic testing process, have the tools and the projects for network and the network element orchestration. So I think the RFN platforms have the potential capability to support AI or machine learning related testing. So here I list some points that I think maybe can help to initial the work or discussion for the network intelligent testing part, and listen to your ideas about those key points questions. So for the first one is the scope for IF network intelligent testing and the interaction with other AI platform. So this is to say the division of works and the interactions with inter-LFN projects and also the outside the LFN projects like the dedicated AI application platform. Second one is what are the systems or objects under test concerned by operators. So what are the carried testing use cases, or what aspects should be conducted by LFN? Next is about the data part. So how to construct data set? Should there have a shared data set, or what kinds of data are expected to be provided? Finally is how to evaluate testing results. So so that is what I keep in my mind. So I also wanted to collect if I have give all the key points here, or if I didn't or miss some, you can point out here. So yeah, that is the background of the part 2. So any thinking about this part?
Yes, can everyone hear my voice?
Yes.
Okay. Yes. The network intelligent net testing and certification is the very important part in EUAG work this year. And we are searching for more potential opportunity to try to build some kind of open testing platform, or collect more AI testing requirements or use cases for testing. That is the idea. We still under discussion. And if you have any requirements, you can raise your hand and put forward your thoughts. More than welcome. Thank you, Jim. I think there's some problem with my audio. I don't know why.
It's working now. It's great.
Okay, good. Any comments?
So I have some questions. Yeah, Lincoln is thinking the same thing.
Yeah,
need
I think
to-
Lincoln has tapped something to the chat window. Okay, go ahead, Beth. You
I
can
was going to say,
continue.
um, I think we need to define some use cases that can be turned into tests. So,
Mhm. Yeah, so
so how would we do that, and who would be involved in that?
mm,
Does it relative to the data sharing and model sharing project, or not?
I don't think so. Here, this question is that actually it's for the machine learning or AI, related issues. Is for that when we're doing the testing, we may need some input data and for testing, I mean. So in this way, should we or should the LFN itself has a central, data set like the ONAP data lake or ONAP MongoDB database, something can provide some simulated data for testing. And here also is a discussion. So I think it's related to the first question, that is, what is the scope for LFN testing if we wanted to do the network intelligent, and if we just do some performance or very simple testing, maybe we don't need a data set. But if we wanted to, maybe also cover some accuracy testing, we may also we may consider how to handle the source of data, and do we need to store have a unified data set. Mhm. So I also wanted to, yeah.
Yeah, I want to talk more about the data set, because that's really, really, really important.
Mm-hmm.
And unlike the ONAP data set, it's huge. Because it's network traffic, right? Network traffic is a huge amount of data.
Mm-hmm.
Or is it, so let me ask you a question. For intelligent networking, is it actually the network traffic data itself? Or is it fault data? I mean, there's a lot of different data that can be used for intelligent networking. And as you know, based on the survey, a lot of people are focusing on fault data right now rather than traffic data and performance data. But those are two very different data sets. And of course, we do have to be careful about the data being scrubbed so that it's not proprietary to a specific operator or a specific vendor. So I think we do need some kind of common data set, but I don't think it's an easy thing to do.
Yes, it's not a very easy thing to do, but we can try to do some attempt. And indeed, we have done a project.
So as I mentioned earlier, Sridhar is starting up a conversation about AI and machine learning on Fridays, US time, Friday mornings. This might be a union of all these interests.
Hey, everybody, this is Pierre. I just wanted to point out, I was taking a look at the white paper and the interest in AI ML. You mentioned in the white paper Etsy E&I. There's another group called ETSI-INT. It's Core Network Interoperability Testing. And jointly with E&I, they have 2 work items specifically for intelligent network testing. They're just starting. They're in diapers, both work items, but I know they've prepared some really large contributions to kick them off, and they also submitted a call for paper for another conference. So they're going to present it. So they have progress. But so ETSI-INT, and I'll type into the chat window the technical report numbers if you're interested in looking at that.
Well, Pierre, thank you. Do you know what is the name of the ENI group, the 2 of them?
Yeah, I'll put them in the chat window. There are 2 TRs, technical reports, and right now there's nothing to read, literally nothing, but there's a couple of contributions, first contributions that are being discussed through their meetings. So the draft itself is 0 right now, but there's a couple of contributions. I can even give you that because I know you have access to the portal.
Yeah.
And another thing regarding to your part 1, you're looking at 3GPP for testing. Historically, 3GPP never built tests apart from the radio. Having said that, I had a chat with the CT working group chair at one point, where since all protocols now built for 3GPP core network are all open API based, he would have loved somebody to go there and define a bunch of conformance tests like we've done at ETSI test for the Mano. So, 3GPP is contribution driven just like everybody else, but I think that's something they would be interested in looking into. That's
Okay,
it.
Okay, thanks, Pierre. You mean for the 3GPP CT group also have testing work, right?
Sorry, muted. They do not, but I think since they now have open API based protocols, just like ETSI Mano does, I think they would be receptive to somebody going in and doing that. In fact, that the CT chair invited me to go in and do that. I just ran out of runway because his interest was the fact that I lead the test 10 work item at ETSI NFV for Mano conformance testing. So he strongly suggested I should go to CT and do that.
Okay. Thanks for sharing the information.
Right. And Trevor brought up a great question, which is whether this would be on live traffic or whether it would be on not live traffic. I think that's a great question because I think ultimately the telcos are going to be wanting to do this intelligent networking on live traffic, but obviously you can't necessarily do the initial tests on it. So I think we need to, when we create these tools and create these data sets, I think we need to think that they're likely going to be eventually used for live traffic.
Okay, maybe for the data side part, we can further thinking about the clarification of the data. So what kinds of data may be related to this testing, and what kinds of maybe need a site, and what code shouldn't have, and see where is the easy place we can get started. That is what my current thinking. Okay, so any comments, any more comments or questions for the part 2?
Yeah, I have a question. You know, it's very interesting topic, and we really like to see. But you know, I think it's like concept level information. There is no concrete thing. So I have some suggestion. First of all, if we adopt a use case driven approach, especially targeting with something like on some 5G or something, I think this is the first thing, right? We should target some use case. And the other thing, at least on the architecture level, if you know, because it's like looks more like concept level. I don't know even in few months time if we can output something and then discuss the detailed things about it will be better. Yeah, I'm just thinking like this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So you know, I'm also thinking about you know, finding some good use cases. Maybe for my my understanding that if we have the really concrete use cases, it will be more easier to work out. So that is also why I have this session and topic to see if what is as operators, you know, requirements or perspective for the AI use cases. Yeah.
So can I make just a general other comment, which is that, you know, I think everybody's getting all excited about AI and we're all working on the algorithms and everything. But algorithms, if you only, algorithms can have significant bias if we don't have a broad enough data set. So just be aware of that.
So Bess, can you repeat again? I just lost for a while. Sorry for that.
So what I'm saying is that the data set has to be properly curated and it has to be properly broad enough, or you can introduce bias. There's some significant, my personal experience with this is in the speech recognition in a prior life. I was involved in speech recognition research, and everybody wanted to do it as fancy algorithms, but we ended up in the end just using a large amount of speech to get speech recognition to work. So I expect we're going to have to do the same thing with networking, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, Beth, to dogpile on that, 80% of the data science work is really in the cleansing of the data. So unifying these data sets from all these different operators is a monumental task. Yes. Just because the operational definition of what it means to, you know, ping time, what does that mean? Okay. So anyway, it's a big problem.
But it's needed, but it's totally needed.
So defining the data set and how to collect it and operational definitions, I think is a big part of the work that's involved here.
Yeah, I would agree with you, Jim.
Yeah, folks, we're up against time.
Highly useful to everybody.
Okay. Okay, so go ahead. I think we have, yeah.
Yeah, it's the end of the session.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, folks, thank you so much. We've got a half-hour break. We will continue the next session at 14:30 UTC. So take a break, stretch your legs, do whatever you need to do, and we'll see you back here in about a half hour.